it's not.
Okay.
Scholar Jonathan Sachs once said, "Technology gives us power, but it does not and cannot tell us how to use that power. Thanks to technology, we can instantly communicate across the world, but it still does not help us know what to say."
Today, we want to look at how the evolution of technology in our educational systems has impacted how we communicate in an educational setting. We'd like to look into just how much technology has evolved over the course of time, how the evolution has affected education, and finally a few ways we can solve any problems presented by these changes.
To see how much technology has changed in education to where it is as we know it today, first let's take a peek at how technology has become what it is today. The various formats of technology in education have changed greatly over the years, according to edudemic.com. Starting with the 1650s, when students used the hornbook as a way to get their lessons. A hornbook is basically a wooden paddle that had a lesson in like your numbers or the alphabet or a religious lesson printed on just one side of it. And these could be reused through various classes, but generally just kept one lesson on them throughout the time that they were being used. And in the 1890s, students would use a school slate, which was basically a chalkboard and a small piece of chalk, which is generally what we think of as when we were in elementary school and the teachers would walk in with the big stack of marker boards and all the erasers and markers that everyone would get so excited about, and she would just ask a question and you would write down your answer and would just go from there. And for some reason that was always everybody's favorite day of class. Both the hornbooks and the school slates relate to what students use today in the iPad, though you can get significantly more than just one lesson on it at a time in comparison to the hornbook, and you can do a lot more with it by having access to the internet and any kind of learning games or being able to save your information on it once you're done putting it on there. Another way in which technology has evolved in an educational setting is textbooks. When our parents were in high school and college, they had to carry around the big, expensive textbooks, and we still do, but we also have the option to have a lot more access to online textbooks and interactive textbooks that we can type our notes on and write different notes on and have little connections that can take us to different pages and make it really easy to carry on through all of the different ideas in the book and then just be able to go back and erase anything out of it that we don't want anymore. Another huge way technology has impacted our education is by broadening our audiences. When our parents were in school, again, it was generally just them presenting to their classmates or just the teacher on their own. Whereas today we have the opportunity to present what we're learning all across the world. We can do so through projects like this, when our group, for example, used the Screen-O-Matic program to record this beforehand and get it downloaded as like an MP4, and we have the opportunity that we could put it on a web-based platform like Twitter or Facebook, or we could put it on YouTube and share it that way. We could also today, as students, share what we're learning through blogs and podcasts and other things such as that. An evolution through technology that teachers might not be nearly as excited about would be that students are no longer passing notes, which they never really liked to begin with, but we're still basically talking to each other during class. Just instead of passing around our little fancy folded up pieces of paper, we've moved on to texting each other in class. Or if you find yourself sitting behind a lot of people on MacBooks, you'll see a lot of iMessaging during class. This leads to a lack of face-to-face communication within groups, as students are more comfortable and more likely emailing or texting with each other or with their professors, rather than discussing their information face-to-face or in person.
Now that we know a little about how technology has evolved, let's look at its impact on educational lives. Technology impacts the educational setting both positively and negatively. Technology assists in the ability to mass communicate. One example would be communicating with classmates and professors through things like a chat room or a forum. Another way is through virtual communicating. Examples of this would be like texting, emails, using webcams or Skypes, that sort of thing. This sort of communication is able to occur throughout all hours of the day, which makes it extremely convenient. And with webcams, face-to-face interaction is possible without being in the presence of the other person. One last positive way is the accommodation of students with disabilities or special needs. This allowed students with a wide array of disabilities a way to communicate more efficiently and effectively. An example may be a student that does not respond well in a normal or typical classroom setting. Computer technology has helped bridge the gap so that their learning is possible. One negative impact technology has on communication in the educational setting is that it's caused extra distractions. This can result in less time spent studying outside the classroom and less material grasped and learned. Another is reduced social interactions. Frank Conley, the author of Clicking Not Connecting, What College Kids Lose with Email, says that technology in the educational setting has significantly decreased student-to-professor relationship. Before email, Frank would have students visit him in his office, ask him about classes, and this face-to-face interaction would eventually lead into a conversation, and he would be able to build relationships with these students. Since all students and teachers have gone to email, this has decreased significantly. Lastly, nonverbal communication is affected. When face-to-face interaction is decreased, it reduces the nonverbal power of the individual.
Finally, the time has come to explain and solve any problems that have popped up due to the ever-changing role of technology in education. Conversational relationships between teachers and students has dwindled within the past decade. The connections between the two are no longer as strong because they mostly take place over a screen rather than in person. Confronting a teacher over email about a missing grade or a bad grade that you'd like to have fixed is a lot easier than walking into their office and doing it in person. But many teachers would appreciate the courtesy of students walking into their offices during office hours rather than emailing them behind the screen. Tone and intent can be unclear or read differently in emails rather than if you were to walk in and ask in person. Research is also a bit easier with technology. The accessibility of information on the internet and the ability for anyone to explore it is pretty amazing. But anyone can cheat or plagiarize this information as well. To avoid this, be sure to cite all information carefully and correctly and give credit where credit is due. Technology is practical in the modern world. It's what the students are used to. It's what they've grown up with. They've learned how to work the new technology as it grows with them. Teachers, on the other hand, have had it all thrown at them in what seems at once. Therefore, it's harder for them to learn. But this hasn't stopped them from using technology, which is rarely designed for the classroom, in the classroom. When the students teach the teacher how to use the technology, they may learn the lesson that is being taught as well. An example of how technology can be used in the classroom is as a classroom. Distance education or online classes have helped students because they don't have to be on campus or even in state to take these classes or communicate with their classmates and teachers. This seems like a good idea on paper, but faulty internet connection or any other sort of connection may cause misunderstandings or an assignment not to be handed in on time or information not to be given out the right way. Technology may also help with the accommodation of various learning styles. Visual and audio aids are available online and through other technological devices. The problem here is that attention may fade over time or wander somewhere else, such as the internet or games that have been downloaded. This can be avoided by blocking the internet or just certain websites and taking the games off of these systems. There are even some programs which allow teachers to control all the screens in their classrooms with ultimate control. They can black out the screens that their students are using or view every student's screen from their home computer and see exactly what their students are up to.
It looks like our time here is officially coming to a close, so let's start wrapping things up. We started our presentation today with the hopes of opening your eyes to just how much technology has impacted our lives in an educational setting. The first step was briefly looking into the evolution of technology in education specifically. Next, we moved into the impacts of technology on education today. And finally, we came back around full circle to come up with a few ideas on just how to solve any problems that may arise from technology in education. Hopefully this presentation has given you some insight on just how much technology really does affect education.